Hi guys. So, you've been in school for a while, and you've learned a lot about history, but I want to pose to you the question of, have you ever thought about if history was different in a personal sense? If, like, living history, if you could ask somebody about what a historical event that you've read about or learned about in school, how it affected them, how it could affect you personally. I just want you to think about that. Because I interviewed my father about his time growing up, and he grew up in a farm in Kansas, and for the first 20 years of his life, this was the 1920s to 1940s. It was hard growing up, but he had no he had nothing to rely on, and when it came time for him to be drafted into World War II, he had no idea that he would be put into the Battle of the Bulge, which was the most bloodiest battle of the European theater in Europe. It stretched from December 1944 to January 1945, and during that time, ammunition was low, rations were low, everything was just dire for survival. And my father told me how hard it was for him to get through all that, because the machines had to be maintained and the guns had to be maintained, because the temperatures were so low. It was probably one of the lowest temperatures ever recorded in German weather, and he was in the middle of all this with the threat of Nazis killing him at night, and there were no lights, there was nothing he could rely on except for himself and his comrades and the courage he had inside of him. And I think about that, and I think about the times we are going through in America right now, our economic situation, and how we're trying to make it through college. It may not seem like a battle or a war, but it really is, because we don't have much to rely on. I mean, we're the stereotypical poor college student. We don't have that much to rely on, but we have the hopes that if we survive all this and we come out strong, that we'll be better off. We'll have a degree we can live our lives on. And my father used a similar courage to get through the Battle of the Bulge. He relied on his comrades, he relied on the strength he had inside, and the hopes that, because he had family back home, and he used that will to survive to get back home. He had no idea that his efforts, with the help of his comrades, that Battle of the Bulge was the turning point of World War II, and it stopped Hitler's advance into Europe, and that was the last thing Hitler had. After that, the Germans collapsed, and World War II was basically over from that point on. My father still had some time left after the war. He still had to do some time over there to help repair the country, but when he came back, he was a much better person. And he came back, and he told me that he didn't want to stop surviving, so he couldn't remain a soldier his entire life, so he went back to college, and he got a degree in science, and he moved on to dentistry, and he set up a practice. He had 30 to 40 years of being a dentist, and he really enjoyed his life. But I don't think he could have done that and had a successful life without finding that fire inside of him to survive during the Battle of the Bulge, during World War II. And I feel like I've taken something from it, that my father could do this, and I come from him, and I feel like I'm better off than where he started, and I can do so much more. So I never get discouraged by what I hear in the news about our economy or about prospects for jobs, because I know that I want to make it through this, and I want to be better than I am right now. And with that same courage to survive, I know that I'm going to live a really rich life. And I just hope that his life and his story that I just shared with you can also inspire you to feel the same way. And I encourage you to find living history in your relatives as well. See what they have to say about those times. Thank you.